So in Poway, California, they have just built a Cane's chicken
Oh,
thing.
oh,
I didn't know what Cane's
Raising
was or what the
Cane's,
big
right?
deal was. Raising Cane's,
Yeah.
thank you.
Raising
Oh, yeah.
Cane's.
But the whole community was like, "Oh my God, Raising Cane's is coming!" And me and my daughter were like, "What the heck are you guys talking? It's just chicken." So it's really good. But what
Yeah.
I really like, I've been there like almost every day this week for lunch, is they sell like a big jug of their sweet tea, and I love sweet tea. So I've been
Okay.
just like, I'm hyper right now because I had like 2 glasses before the podcast. So highly recommend Cane's sweet tea. I'm still not all about the cane sauce. Everybody's raving about it, but
Really?
yeah, the
That's the
chicken's
best
good.
part.
The tea's good. I don't get what the big deal about the sauce is.
Welcome back to Helical Brew. This is episode 48, part 2 of our mid-year hiring check-in with Ian Cooper and Chris Gaetani of BioMed Recruiting. Today, ghosting, stalled job searches, and what hiring teams should rethink now. Welcome back to Science Means Business on Helical Brew. This is part 2 of our mid-year hiring check-in with Ian Cooper and Chris Gaetani from BioMed Recruiting. If you missed part 1, go back and catch up on episode 47. We covered what's changed since January in biotech and automation hiring, how comp expectations are shifting, and why video intros are beating resumes. Today, we're diving straight into the rest of the conversation. Chris's hot or not take, why ghosting has become such a big problem, and why job seekers and hiring teams alike should be rethinking right now. So let's get back into it. Thank you, Ian, for highlighting what's cooling down. I'd like to hit up Chris for what's hot since the beginning of the year
Hot or not?
in the hot or not
Sure.
segment.
Sure. I would say this is hard to be concise about. So what's hot for us and what's hot for other agencies that I'm talking to is really giving hiring managers as many tools as humanly possible on the front end to make sure that their time is spent very, very efficiently, right? And so we can talk a little bit more about our process, but Ian touched on it a little bit earlier in terms of like candidate video submissions, doing personality assessments in comparison to the role, all these very, very thorough screening tools for hiring managers to ensure that their time is spent very wisely. Reason being is those job boards are crazy, right? So we talked about, kind of how to set yourself apart, and competing on a, 250, 300 person job board on LinkedIn. It's not going to be a good use of time for anybody, candidates and hiring managers. So across the board, I think partnering with specialized agencies who can really be a brand ambassador for you as a candidate and getting really niche in your approach to job hunting is super hot. So I would say that tool and treating your job search really, really seriously in that way and taking new avenues is something that candidates have to do right now to set themselves apart.
That's a great point. Yeah, be more specific, be more particular in your hunt. I mean, and not just not that people do that, generally throwing paint on the wall. I don't want to make that analogy, but I mean, it is a little bit,
Starts to
it's
feel
like,
that way.
I think the first reaction sometimes, because I've talked to some job seekers, in recent months about, I think the first inclination is to throw a lot out there, and without a lot of specificity as to what's being looked for, just because it's sort of the reaction to the situation. But that's huge. I don't think I would have ever gotten in the robotics business if I wasn't very particular, because everybody's going into fiber optics when I got out of school, and I just was not down.
Yeah.
I was not into it. Yeah, it's
That
either
was
fiber
big.
optics or working on the F-35. It was one of those two things.
Nice.
And so so thank you for that. And in our next segment, we're going to talk about, we've heard terms like the COVID hangover, but there's other terms out there like the ghosting and bottlenecks era, hiring process pain points. Here's some things. Ghosting. We all hear about it. It gets talked about a lot. I mean, every time I talk with somebody, a job seeker, it comes up. It's like, I ghosted. What's going on?
Just send an email and tell people they didn't get it. God.
Another ghosting. Why does it happen, and how should a candidate handle it?
I can answer this one, Chris. So
Write him a mean email.
They deserve somebody who ghosts a candidate, especially after an interview process. A mean email is absolutely justified. I think that recruiters obviously are balancing quite a bit. But for me, ghosting is inexcusable, and it just shows a lack of organization as well as just the human element, where candidates put a lot into an interview process. They're not getting paid for their time to spend during the interview process. And also, a lot of the time, they get extremely excited about it, to the point sometimes where the finances they could be getting could be life-changing. Maybe just the company in general is the type of company they've always wanted to work for their entire career. So me and Chris definitely think like that. I think that there's so much automation and technology out there for recruiters to use as well, that the job process for considering candidates has gotten very impersonalized. Chris and I utilize a lot of new cutting edge progressive technology involved with our process. But how I think about technology is for it to be used in a way where we just get to spend more time on the phone or in meetings with our customers and candidates. So I mean, we get to know candidates extremely well from our first conversation. We actually prefer doing video over phone for the screens, which can make a big difference. And we give candidates the option because it's not always preferable to them. But, we speak to candidates for at least 30 minutes to see if there's interest in the role and talk to them about it and get what their main motivations are. And then if they don't, for whatever reason, get an interview request after that, we absolutely let them know. It's not always a phone call because we do talk to a lot of people, but we will always email them. We'll give them a very specific reason to why, and we will give them the option to give us a call if they want to talk it through in any more detail. Now, when the interview process starts, we spend a decent amount of time prepping them for the interview, and then we try and have a video interview, or not part of the interview process, but a video conversation with them directly after they wrap their interview. And that's a really good opportunity to get to know somebody. And absolutely, if they don't get the role for any reason, like they are getting a call from us where everything is going to be thoroughly flushed out as to why they may have not got the role. So that's our process. Speaking for other people, I just think it's, like I said, recruiters being unorganized and just kind of losing touch with how important this is for candidates.
Yeah, I definitely feel it gives the sense that we didn't like you enough to move forward, so we don't really care about letting you know that anymore. Like, we have better things to do.
And I think that as recruiters, you have to be really smart with how you communicate things, because you always want to be honest, but you're representing both the company and the candidate. And sometimes you can get reasoning from the company that isn't something that you should directly share with the candidate for whatever reason. So you just have to be smart about how you share it. And still, just what we always try and do is just share information as accurately and honestly as possible that really can help them learn something to take forward to their next interview that they have. But I think
it's
sometimes
a missed opportunity, because people are trying to get jobs. So tell them what could be improved. It's not just about, hey, you don't fit my box or my qualifications. Like, help them for their next role,
Yeah.
And
it's in my opinion, it's just short-sighted, right? Like, you never know when that candidate is going to be perfect for something else, right? So it's about maintaining that relationship, and like Ian touched on, it's because it's a human element, right? You need to maintain that throughout the process, and especially in these times, right? It's like it's an opportunity to either inspire hope or kind of twist the dagger a little bit. So we take that pretty seriously.
When I was first getting involved within lab automation, I would just take any call that I can get. And also the market then was a little bit different. So companies were having a harder time finding qualified candidates. But just from hiring in very different markets, some that we call candidate markets, other client markets, just depending on who kind of has the advantage. It's just very always important to establish great relationships, get to know people. I think as recruiters, that's something that's genuine to us, is like, we just like building relationships with people. Our jobs would not be fun if we didn't enjoy talking to people all day, every day. And actually, one of my favorite parts of the role is what we were touching on earlier, which is finding out some of the candidates' motivations, what's most important to them, what would make this their dream job, things they are potentially able and willing to sacrifice on. Because we were talking about how candidates are having to be a little bit more realistic with their expectations, but we're bringing them down to earth sometimes when we need to, but we're still helping them to the best of our abilities get exactly what they do want. So that's where it gets fun for us too.
I think mostly people just want a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. I think that people are compensated, well within our industry, and we always, of course, try and get them the necessary pay raise that they deserve. But I think that,
But I think it's hard in this market, Ian. I've got people that have been looking since they got laid off last December. Like, what are they supposed
yeah,
to do? It's impacting real life. So I
no,
think pivoting
absolutely.
and growing and trying to be better is one thing. But I also think you have to have different strategies for how you approach companies, and companies have to have
Oh,
different strategies
100%.
to encourage candidates that's not ghosting, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
I think that it's different for if you're looking while you're in a role versus if you're looking 9 months after getting laid off, of course. Like at that point, somebody just wants and needs a paycheck. I'm more talking about when we're helping candidates that were either recently let go or still employed with why they would want to move to another employer and what makes this next opportunity better than the one that they're currently at.
Yeah, that's an important distinction
People,
because you have a
yeah,
little
it's
bit more comfort.
absolutely. People that, of course, aren't working are always going to be a lot more flexible. I think changing jobs is exhausting. And what I've seen happen frequently over the last couple of years, though, are people taking a job just because it's the first one that they've been offered since being laid off. And it doesn't end up being a long-term fit for a variety of reasons. So, of course, not everybody has the luxury of being patient, and some people don't have severance. And again, like some people may just need to take the next opportunity that they get, no matter what that is. But of course, if you can really do some internal thinking, and that's one thing me and Chris try and help people realize through our conversations of what will make me content in this role over a long period of time beyond the salary, then that can be extremely useful. And a lot of people need to maybe talk it through in detail with somebody like us or Chris, and we have the right questions to ask to kind of get to the bottom of that as well.
Yeah. Do you feel like the faster, better, cheaper approach has been overly attempted in this profession of recruiting in general, whether it's in company or independent? I feel like there's a look, faster, better, cheaper has been applied to so many areas of our lifestyle, of life, right? You look at, manufacturing, making things cheaper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your computing experience, your home automation experience, all those things, right? Do it faster, better, cheaper. But I feel like, there's been a lot of attempts, and I'm close to this because I am a sales professional. I'm in the sales business. The different tools that are advertised to me every day. I get 25 emails a day and make your sales faster using this tool. And I feel like that's also been applied to the job recruiting market to some degree. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if what you're asking is more around recruiters trying to just flip
Just trying to
candidates and get people
sidestep
through the
the
door.
process,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
absolutely. So in an ideal world, what our process entails is starting relationships with companies and conversations before a position is actually open. So finding out from them a variety of different things, but really, again, establishing the partnership and getting prepared for when an opening becomes available. And then when that does happen, it's not go, go, go. And you can really take the necessary steps to make sure you find the right candidate and hire for the individual opening for a variety of reasons. So that's our ideal situation and what we do the most of and what we look for. Sometimes somebody will come to us and say, this position has been open for, a couple months and we need your help and we need somebody immediately because this is a backfill and somebody hasn't been doing this job for now 3 months. That's not our ideal situation to work in. Even if we can get the payday a lot faster, it's just a lot more transactional and things are rushed. And a lot of the time the hires don't end up working out as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, you gotta put the time in to get get what you want out and get the outcome you want. Well, switching gears a little bit to kind of give some folks some tips and tricks, right? Here we go for those that are in a stalled situation with their job search, and then we'll move to the hiring team side of things. But before we do that, for people that are like who've been searching for a job for a while and they just haven't had any traction, what should they change right now? The first thing they do is what should they change right now?
It's really taking your job search seriously. And the good news is, these people in our industry are very smart, very capable and research oriented. So do just that, research, leveraging your current your existing skills and the skills that can make you more formidable. And that goes back to the piece that we were talking about and changing your perception of yourself. If you saw yourself as a lab person, and those jobs just aren't available, think about, bolstering those soft skills that make you more customer facing capable and providing different value adds to a different company or a different, niche market. And then it'll sound cliche, but the networking piece, I think this is an area where Ian and I consider ourselves like pretty old school. We're at all the LRIG events. We'll have a booth at LRIG San Francisco. Really looking forward to that. And when I see young job searchers there who have, taken the time to go, I just feel really confident that those people are going to have a ton of success in their job search, right? As opposed to throwing mud at the wall and hoping something sticks on those 200 to 300 person job boards. So leverage LinkedIn, find a specialized recruiter and build a strategy with them. If they're willing to work with you, and a lot of agencies are, because they're also, directly tied to the same job market that you are, right? So we're not experiencing the same amount of rec volume that we were a couple of years ago. So we are more likely to partner with highly skilled individuals and build a strategy to sell them into particular companies. And a specialized recruiter can get creative with you and thinking about, okay, where's your skill set now? And where does it fit this new era of job searching? So find a specialized recruiter, leverage your network, go to events, get in person, separate yourself. And I, of course, got to plug partner with BioMed if you're in lab automation.
There you go.
I think you guys are very passionate, and you can tell that you're very you're going to go to bat for everyone that you're working with. So that comes across clearly. And I love that you added actionable things in there, right? Because I think it does feel bleak sometimes. But I think, and I mentioned this on a previous podcast, when I'm getting 300 resumes, but I also have a LinkedIn message from the person who put in the resume. Guess what? I'm going to go into, ADP and look for that name and look at that resume, because now I have this connection. And that's just something that, not just throwing your resume at the wall, you're actually actioning on that and networking. That's important.
Yeah. And in our world right now, we're, like Ian mentioned earlier, we partner with startups, right? So these are companies that are really focused on bringing in adaptable people. They're adapting in the same way on a macro scale that candidates are on a micro scale. So if you're in your job search and in your interview style and in your engagement with their employees, you show that you're adaptable, they're trying to do the same thing on a commercial scale. So do that and be that for them, right? The startups aren't looking for somebody who wants a black and white JD that says, I'm going to do this from 9 to 5 every day. They want somebody who's going to say, like, what more can I do for the company, or what can I be learning, or what can I be investing in myself to drive projects and manage people and projects. So there's a ton of different ways to get that across, but it starts with being adaptable in your search, because, an interview is the best simulation you're going to get for working for a company. So if you get that opportunity, show that adaptability.
But I think also partnering with the right agency is important, because I know there's a lot of VP and director levels that are higher, applying for senior automation engineer roles. Those are definitely overqualified. And the first thing that people are going to ask is, don't you want a leadership position, right? So I think partnering with the right firm gets you kind of in the door the right way.
Definitely. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of that. And that's been a trend over the last couple of years. And I don't have an answer to that. That's a really tricky situation to navigate, right? And companies will find a reason to disqualify somebody for being overqualified when I can't tell you how many searches Ian and I have been on that where this is a no-brainer. This person is in love with your company, in love with your product. They're at their wit's end with the job search. But there's a lot of different.
Some of these stories.
There's a lot of different layers to that, right? Because if the job market turns on its head, now all of a sudden, you've got somebody who's probably underpaid and underserving in terms of their skill sets. So it's not necessarily the best longevity play, but it does create an interesting dynamic.
True. And this might be politically incorrect and you're probably not going to answer, but it's also sometimes you feel I wonder if, they're thinking, hey, this person's really qualified. I'm going to hire him as a senior automation engineer and they're going to go after my job, right? There's that dichotomy there.
Yeah, without being too specific, that happens, right? So that's the cultural fit. Does it make sense to bring in this person who has the skills to leapfrog me in terms of the value that they bring to this company? So that's absolutely a That's what makes if you really want to boil it down, selling people to people, quite an interesting dynamic, right? At the end of the day. Yeah, there's a lot of human element going on that
See, so you got passed over because you were too good for the job.
It does happen.
Yeah, you don't want to be in that position. So it's best, I think, the one big standout to me, and a lot of standouts in what you both said, but one big standout to me is work with a professional, work with them to find that pivot, that all important pivot that's going to give you more chances on at bat. And I think that's the way folks need to look at it. It's not personal, right? When you get, some things are not going to work out. They're not going to be a good fit. Work hard on preparing yourself to move on to the next thing and giving yourselves more chances at bat. Because, a lot of times it's hard to hit your target from the bench, right?
You just got to get in front of those hiring teams, basically.
You want to get in front of those hiring teams. So which brings me to a question about, do you have any particular highlight examples? Here we are, and coming up on Q4 on events, places to go network, places you're going to be networking and looking for more opportunities to do recruiting for vendors, or for, I would say, hiring folks.
So Chris and I are in San Diego. LRIG San Diego is in 3 weeks, I believe. And then LRIG Bay Area is just a couple weeks after that. So we'll definitely be at both of those. I think at similar times they do LRIG nationwide, right? So I know there's one in Seattle as well, but I believe there's also ones in Boston, New York, Canada, some of the other places.
LRIG SD is the 8th, right, Ian? It's the 8th, and then
I think it's after that. It's September 18th or 19th, something like that.
Yeah, sadly I missed that one. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Well,
we'll be at both. We'll have a booth at the Bay Area one. Even though we live in San Diego, we usually get a lot more foot traffic and just see it being more useful for us to have a booth at the Bay Area event. We just heard that Andrew, who I know you know well, Sura, because you worked with him, is going to be helping put on the first San Diego Lab Automators event sometime in November, I think.
Nice.
So that's exciting. I think that's long overdue because it seems like they have a really great community in Boston and the Bay Area, the Lab Automators, and hopefully we can replicate the same in San Diego.
Yeah, cool. They've been coming up more often, and the reason I'm going to be missing some of the events in the U.S. because I'm going to go to the one in Vienna, and there's another one in Munich. I want to go check out those networking events over in Europe.
Great.
Just because
what a drag. What a drag that sounds.
It's horrible. It's a terrible task, but somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Go to the Alps and see the snow. Hopefully start to fall a little bit when I'm over there.
We'll get out there eventually.
We've done some searches for, like, for example, field-based engineers in Switzerland, and it's great to see there's so many labs out there.
Yeah.
And it seems like they have a great community within lab automation, I think in Germany specifically, and then obviously there's SLAS Europe each year too. So I would absolutely love to get out there.
In automation, general industrial automation, it was never this kind of cross, continent in terms of how integrated a lot of these companies are. I mean, it just speaks to the fact that this science that a lot of this automation is used for and process is really hard. So you need a global audience. You need a global team to bring it together. You find, many of the big pharmas have sites all around the world for that reason, to bring together those expertise. It's just an industrial automation. It's more, this is the US market, this is the European market. There's not a ton of crossover in terms of the people you interact with. So that's another thing I'm so thankful about this industry. And I'm sure, you see it with your clients as far as where they're hiring, who they're hiring, the different roles being in different parts of the world at the same time. And, those great events. I normally would go to, both of those every year. The LRIG Bay Area, I used to live in the Bay Area. That was just across the bridge, and there you go. I think are they holding it at the Embassy or the Crown Plaza, one of those two?
I get the hotels confused, but one in South San Francisco. I think the same one as last year.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I remember that one. Good spot.
We used to live in the Bay Area before we stopped affording to be able to live in the Bay Area.
Well, we and in Reno here we have our little networking event, the Reno Lab Automation Community event. We have once a month for folks if that want to follow that. If you happen to be in the area, home of Hamilton, right? We have a major player in the industry here, but
They
also we have
just put it on the sign. Welcome to
several other
Reno,
companies.
home
Yeah,
of
we're
Hamilton.
we're getting a growing list of companies, especially through UNR. Just a little sideline there. UNR is kind of an incubator site for small startups to operate. So that's bringing more opportunity here to Reno. Nothing compared to the San Diego and South City market, but we'll
That's
we'll
great
take
to
what we
see.
can get. We want to continue to grow it.
You said those are monthly?
Those are monthly. Yeah, we have those
Great.
monthly. We are getting folks from California coming more and more often,
Yeah.
which has been great because there is a great way to network with, one of the biggest players in the market as well as some of the new startups that are coming online here. So you're
Absolutely.
welcome to join us, Ian and Chris, if you feel like better in winter if you're skiers.
I was going to say, I'm going to plan it around a Tahoe snowboarding trip. So
Yeah.
I'll
Oh
see you in the winter.
yeah, there you
No
go.
big deal to get over here.
Yeah.
And
I have an aunt in the valley about 20 minutes from Mount Rose, so
okay.
I'm out there pretty frequently.
Look at that. Everyone's invited to Mike's house barbecue.
I am also
beer.
20 minutes from Mount Rose. We might be in the same area. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That's I love it out here, and I'm coming up on my 2-year mark. And yeah, I mean, in terms of like, the networking events, I think it's so important. Just get out there, practice, talk with folks, interact with the different companies, and I think Sura and I both have done a lot of that, just networking as part of the job, right? The business that we're in, getting to know people in the industry. Sura, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I'm dying to hear what Ian wants to go deep on with the hiring teams.
We're gonna talk about hiring teams and what to rethink now. And this may be more than 7 to 10 minutes, I'm thinking, which I'm more than happy about because I think it's super important. I think it's a great last subject to close out on. Or we're not totally closing out, but I mean, just our final major topic of the call. What should hiring managers stop doing right now if they want great candidates?
Stop ghosting.
So like you said, this is something I could go really deep on and talk a while. And I'm going to try and give concise answers actually. And then you can always ask follow-up questions if you want to that. I know it's a biased answer, but I think they really should be making a case to partner with a recruiter. It doesn't need to be us. It can be another recruitment agency. It can be hiring an internal recruiter for your company if you don't already have one. Although I do think the more specialized within lab automation, the better for a variety of reasons. That case can be difficult. A lot of times hiring managers really, really, really want to partner with us, but they're not the ultimate decision maker. So it's the company leader, owner, department head, whoever it may be. So we can help you make that case. Of course, paying us a fee is an additional cost. And in a market like right now where every dollar is important, that is usually the main reason why not. But I would argue and say that the cost of making a bad hire is much more expensive than paying a small recruitment fee for a great hire that's going to be successful over a long period of time. And I would also say that there's significant cost involved in paying your hiring manager to run a recruitment process. So that should be money counted towards actual recruitment and hiring. When I say a hiring manager, let's just use hiring field automation engineers, for example. So the manager of the field automation team, a lot of the time their full-time role is just managing the people, helping implement the processes, structure, making sure everything's running smoothly. The last thing that they also need to be doing is spending 10 to 20 hours a week on looking through resumes, interviewing candidates, and it's just not a good use of their time. And a lot of the time you're paying a manager or a department head quite a bit of money, like a high salary, and that's all just being spent towards interviewing and hiring. So again, I'm super passionate about that.
And filing all these resumes that don't actually apply for the job you're hiring for.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's mostly their process right now is post the position online. There's a lot of applicants, but for a variety of reasons, they're just not able to cut through the noise and get to the right people. And I feel for the job seekers and people applying too, because they're not properly being given the opportunity to stand out. So again, without going too in depth on our process, like we utilize a variety of sourcing and advertising channels. We do a lot of continuous follow-up. We create marketing material to share with the candidates to get them excited about the company and opportunity. We do personalized videos for them and all sorts, right? And the screens that we do with each candidate are extremely thorough. So as mentioned earlier in the call, the hiring managers are getting much more than just a resume and notes from us. Like their time is spent really effectively. If we submit 4 to 6 candidates for each opening, usually on average, at least 2 to 3 of those end up being worth offering the position to, and they never ask for more than 4 to 6. Whereas if they're having to dig through all the applicants, look at all these resumes, somebody looks good on paper, they spend 30 minutes with them and ends up not being a good fit. I don't know the statistics because that'd be impossible to track, but we hear hiring managers spending 10, 20 hours a week easily, and them looking through hundreds of resumes and speaking to dozens of people before ultimately making the right hire. So that's just a massive, massive difference than if you had a recruiter supporting you.
Yeah. No, I could definitely see things have changed so much since I interviewed straight out of college, in the late 90s, and then again in 2010s, and then now with all the different, like LinkedIn becoming the main line for a lot of sources of at least the point of sale, if you will, that a lot of people are using, like, oh, click to apply. It's not just click to apply. There's so much more to that, and there's so much more going behind the scenes. Think of it, but it's great. You gave the perspective of a hiring manager. Now, folks that are looking for a job, they can see, well, look at it from their perspective, right? All these inbound things, they've got to be able to steer through the noise, steer through the fog, to get to where they want to go. And I think that highlights very well what everybody needs to do, not just the hiring managers.
Yeah. But I mean, Elizabeth also mentioned, right, they use a recruiting firm and she says it's a partnership. So because of that partnership, they're able to get quality candidates so they don't waste their time. To Ian's point, you have a partner in this. And I think when you're navigating the current climate, it's important to have a partner looking out for the company's interest also, right?
And that's a great point. And another, I guess, tip for hiring managers and teams for when you do partner with the recruitment agency, it's treating them as a partner, an extension of your organization. That's when we operate most efficiently. And that's also going back to the point you were talking about where cheap and fast versus this kind of approach is massive, because we could just flip you candidates and resumes quickly that fit the job description one for one. But our favorite customers, we've spent a lot of time on site with them at a variety of times. We've spent time outside of their office at lunches or whatever with them as well, getting to know the people, getting to know not just the hiring leaders, but also some of the employees too, being able to talk about what the culture is like and all sorts. And, again, another great point, Sura, because I'd say another thing I just thought of is that hiring managers shouldn't just hire based on skills and experience. There are definitely different, this could be a whole separate conversation, but there's definitely different things that can be implemented throughout the recruitment process for you to effectively be able to hire people that aren't just focusing on, do you have X amount of years doing this?
Yeah.
Should we have a podcast where it's like Ian shows you how to hire and you invite hiring people?
Well, and to add on top of that, I think you bring up a really important point. It's like, you're networkers. You're in there. So you can speak about candidates in a way that's unique, right? Because you're working through a network of candidates that will never come from some sort of automated click-through resource, right? It's curated. And I think that highlights the point that working through a resource that curates the talent that they're bringing to the table, and you can also help the employer curate what they need better, right? And find that match where you are going to look at the harder to see aspects that can be the bigger pivotal aspects of filling the role, getting the right person.
I think Chris and I both didn't study biology. We don't have a scientific background. We're recruiters through and through. And I think as generalist recruiters, it can be really hard to feel like part of the community that you're hiring in, because you're always kind of bouncing around different industries or specializations. So even for us initially, when first starting out within lab automation, it takes a little bit of time. But I think Chris and I never try and communicate that we understand exactly what it is people do. Like, I think that everyone within lab automation is some of the smartest people I've ever worked with. They definitely have this collective knowledge between hardware, software, and science that just completely blows my mind how incredibly smart they are. So we make that extremely clear. But the unique perspective we have is literally all day, every day, we are speaking to candidates and hiring managers about all sorts of different things that are very specific and high value adds to, for example, the hiring managers. So again, another great point, Mike, because a good other tip for hiring managers would be if a recruiter within your specialization reaches out to talk, obviously you can't talk to every recruiter, but if they offer, which we do, to just provide market insight based on what we're seeing, like I would happily talk to any department head, hiring manager, whether they're hiring right now or not, and communicate to them, like, over the hundreds of people within your market that you would either hire now or in the future, these are the types of insights and trends I'm seeing, and share that with them. And that's better insight than you would find on any data collection websites online. Like, we'll be able to specifically tell you like why people are leaving their current roles, why they're not, what kind of roles they're excited about, what type of compensation people are looking for in each little niche role, seniority level, everything you can think of. Like, we can be open books there without sharing too much information.
Your line's gonna blow up.
Well, again, I'm 100% offering to. I genuinely am. I am 100% offering that to people either involved currently with hiring or that will be involved with hiring in the next few months, right? Not just absolutely anybody, because then that would be unmanageable. But if you're hiring now or you plan on hiring in the foreseeable future, then I would absolutely be able to and would love to share a lot of insight that we've gathered over the last few months and last few years and how things have changed.
I love that. I think that's necessary. A lot of people don't have that feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
No, not at all. Not at all. They're just winging it, right? Now, here's switching gears a little bit. Now, here's one. If you've been in the biotech industry for at least the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, Sura, we've seen a lot of these where, we've had a pipeline, we had a relatively new company and a huge headcount growth, and then a huge reduction in headcount. And tips on how to build a better pipeline without bloating the head count to the point where it literally just falls off and you see 100, 200, 300 people hit the job market in what is considered a startup.
And we've heard the perspective of the founders talking about this. It's good to hear a perspective from the recruiters talking about this.
We kind of go the opposite route. Like, you're speaking about a little bit more hiring at volume quickly, and it'd be impossible to add the level of personalization and consistent follow-up that we have to add. So our model is much more hiring on a smaller amount of openings simultaneously, and then utilizing every channel that we know of to ensure we introduce a small number of very, very qualified candidates for each opening that are ready to go and will be worth your time speaking to. I think the other route, when trying to hire at that type of volume, it's just impossible to stay on top of everything. And there are ways you can be smart about it, absolutely. But that's when a lot of the ghosting happens. And that's when there's a lot of this kind of recruitment technology that's taking over versus our process and mindset behind it, which is utilizing the technology to speak to more people.
Fair deal. I'm nothing less than a thumbs up for me when somebody says, look, we're going to stick with what we do, how we do it. And this is our approach. That's something that is not our wheelhouse.
Approach.
So do it personalized, because it'd never be personalized at that scale, hiring so fast. Yeah.
Oh, boutique. I was thinking boutique experience.
Yeah.
And
to speak. Oh, sorry. You mind jumping in? Just to speak to kind of, you mentioned our preference, right? Sticking to what we know best. And our ideal scenario is that partnership approach. So for example, if we're partnered with a vendor, somebody who's providing, automated technology, sitting down with them at the beginning of the year and looking at everything from their install roadmap to current customers who are going to be expanding, and strategizing with them on what kind of hires they're going to need. Everything from, more hardware service focused engineers to field application scientists. Are you starting with sales and expecting a build out of that commercial operation? That's our ideal approach, right? And so those are the ways that we can impact some of those, get out in front of some of those hiring trends that result in these big rifts where it's, the growth at all cost mindset of some of the biotech companies we saw, in that 2015 to 2020 stretch. And then, it's just chaos. So that's how we like to approach. And I think that, if Ian and I had it our way, those are the only type of customers that we would work with.
Very cool.
Okay.
I've been
All right.
waiting for you to pipe in because I'm dying to hear if you have any hiring team things that you'd like to shake up. Because hiring teams, depending from the candidate's perspective versus the company perspective, right? There's a lot of insight there.
Yeah, I would say, it's just kind of piggybacking off of what Ian said. I think that it's so interesting being in an industry that is so highly specialized and people are paid top dollar and highly valued for doing what they do best, and asking those people to spend their time doing these mundane activities with little to no return. And the opportunity cost there and the commercial downtime cost and all those compounding effects of spending your time not so wisely. To us, it is a biased opinion, but it seems a bit foolish. And obviously there are scenarios in which you have a very strong personal network and you can fill these roles in a timely manner on your own. But there are those extenuating circumstances where we see recs open for months and months and months, and those fees start to become kind of small potatoes if you took all those things into consideration. So, treating the talent acquisition process with the respect and then the value it deserves, I think, is something that candidates want to see. Like Ian said,
Sure.
hiring managers want to see, but they're not the official signing authority. So, it's a hard thing to juggle when you're a hiring manager and just having more and more added to your plate. So we sympathize with them too. So it's a tough solution.
It's a tough role
Yeah.
to curate and fill all these different roles. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of factors there. Once it's filled, it's great. Okay, move on to the next one. But there's a lot of things going on there at the same time. What's one underestimated asset in attracting top automation talent?
I can jump in on this. I think some of the things that some of the best agencies are doing, and I think we got to pride ourselves on doing that, is just being different in the way you set yourself apart in the marketplace. Ian talked about us putting together marketing materials. So we're not sending Word document JDs to our talent. We're sending highly detailed information. We call them candidate briefing packs. So it's a full debrief on the company, whether it's their financial situation, their technology, some of their customer base, their executive leadership and their board, and getting very granular about how we pitch these opportunities out to candidates. I think doing something like that, obviously in this market, it's a little bit different, right? You would consider this a company's market. There's more candidates out there than there are roles. But if those roles were to reverse, companies have to do things to set themselves apart and sell themselves attractively to very, very talented engineers. So I think that's a good thing to do and put into practice as part of your talent acquisition process, is marketing yourself and putting together something a little bit unique to send to these folks. And that's, in my mind, that's how you find the best candidates in the market, not on the market, right? So if this becomes a situation where there are a lot of very talented people who are currently employed and more of a kind of a headhunting approach as opposed to a recruiting approach, that's a really good way to distinguish yourself.
Yeah,
That's a
different
good
perspective.
analogy too, the feast or famine, because right now from the job seeker it's a famine, but from the companies it's a feast, right? You have tons and tons of resumes coming at you.
Definitely.
Yeah, gotta adapt. So we go back to that multiple times during this episode. It's adapt, and pivot. Where you need to. All right, so it's time for some myth busting.
Okay.
Let's bust that myth. What's one myth you'd like to bust about hiring in biotech today?
Go for it, Ian.
I would say, again, we've really driven home this point, but it's got to be that hiring is easy in a market like right now. Just assuming that because there are a lot of talented individuals on the market, that hiring is going to be easy for your organization. And it's definitely nothing to be ashamed of if for whatever reason you can't attract the type of talent that you want to. It's just mostly down to your strategy behind it.
Fair point. I like it.
It's
I
also,
like
I
it.
think one myth though is that you can work from your location, right? Like sometimes the best jobs are not in your city. I think there's
Mhm.
a real desire right now to just stay where you are and try to like find something. But I know a
Hmm.
lot of people have found better fits out of San Diego, which doesn't do, doesn't help you guys too much. But
No, absolutely. It's a good point. You're absolutely right about that. And sometimes positions are posted as full-time or hybrid, and they end up being more flexible than that. So it's definitely worth exploring for job
Yeah,
seekers.
that is a big change that when I think about it from growing
yeah,
up
negotiating
was
location. Yeah.
was location. I mean, we moved from California to Houston, Texas because of my dad's job, and he also had moved 4 or 5 times before that in his entire 35-year career with a
Mhm.
with a petroleum company. So, I mean, it was definitely paid off, right? He definitely it worked his way up, but I mean, that was just a different era. You see a lot more people like maybe moving right out of college or maybe a little bit after that period of time, but then maybe less often. I mean, it depends on the person, but
Mhm.
you don't see as much of that. Like companies would pay for transfers, right, from one place to the next. That's like transfer packages. I don't know that dialogue. I don't remember hearing that nearly as much. And then you also have chief executives that are working remotely too, at a
Mhm.
higher, at the quite high levels in companies. And it's just the nature of the business has changed, and but you
But
still have
that's a
the
good point,
epicenters.
though, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that I know one person who applies to jobs that are posted as is and then negotiates being remote and coming
Sure.
in for 3 weeks, every 3 weeks on site. So I think if you do have a city in mind or you want to be a little bit hybrid, just apply. The worst they can say is no, right?
It's like both
Absolutely.
parties are shooting for something. The company's shooting for coming to the office. We're flexible, and then the person's shooting for staying in their city, and they go, well, I could do some hybrid. Figure out something in between.
Negotiation.
Negotiation. Well, that wraps up our Q&A session about recruiting, and kind of thank you for the update on what's going on. Your insights are ultra valuable for everyone, for me personally, and everyone out there looking for a role,
Mid year
or
pulse check.
yeah, the pulse check. And because it is an odd market. I mean, I have to say, like the things you hear, and kind of what things companies are doing to sort of either selling things off, closing things, whatnot. It just, I feel like we're hearing more about that than we have in previous years. And so we're getting to our next segment, which is our pick of the week. I have one. It's very heavy that I
Do you
will
guys
I will
have one?
lift up to the camera,
Go look real
but it's
quick.
always guests first. We always offer it up for guests first to do a pick of the week if you'd like to, and that can be anything, a resource. It's not even it doesn't have to be. I
Okay.
have a physical object, but this can be a tip, a trick, a resource.
Or the painting I made you hide, Chris.
I
I
could.
couldn't.
That actually, this was done by someone I went to high school with, and
Oh, cool.
she would actually really appreciate
Surfing
the
where the
plug.
waves turn into a tiger is what I'm getting.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's pretty cool actually. And she does great work. Pick of the week. Um, you know what? Ian and I talked about this before, but I don't think I really have one. I think, there's so many tools out there and a ton of paralysis by analysis, but I think if I had to bet my bottom dollar, you're going to get a lot better outcomes from putting yourself out there and leveraging the relationships that you have. I think a lot of the times people overcomplicate things, but I think just, um, pay attention to the conferences and the events and the network that you have. The key is you got to get to the front of the line somehow. And the best way to do that is through somebody that can speak on your behalf with the hiring manager. So
Chris
that's my
kept it
tip.
very relevant.
Absolutely.
Subject relevant, but great tip, great advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pick a specific software because I've been trialing and
Yes.
utilizing a bunch of different software and tools
Okay.
lately. So my favorite at the moment is something called Loom that has been around for a few
Oh, yeah.
years, but it's becoming more and more popular, and we're getting better and more effective with how to utilize it. So for us, we could use it for sales or recruitment purposes to make this more relevant to the audience. If you're a job seeker, there's a free version and a paid version, but you can record a video of yourself with a shared screen. So for example, a job seeker could maybe pull up a company's website or a job description, and then they could talk about why they're qualified for the role and send that to the hiring manager. Exactly. So that is just
Cool.
one example. And
That's
it's, you can send an embedded link. Like, it's very easy to share, where videos a lot of the time are difficult to upload, process, share. This is extremely easy. So that can be used for job seekers. That can be used for hiring managers to advertise their role, to reach out to candidates. We use it for that purpose. And I think they've just done a really good job, Loom, in general. We also use it for internal meetings and recording those and training and stuff as well. So yeah.
Very cool. Last time Ian was on, he told us his pick of the week was a travel pillow, and
Good
Mike was
memory.
supposed to get it. Did you ever buy it?
I did not get it.
Because you were complaining about your travel
It's
pillow.
actually on my. It's actually I could. It's yeah. I have a.
It's
I
in
have
the
a
cart.
list.
We just haven't purchased.
Yeah.
I think I remember that now, and I believe I didn't know that question was coming, so I just picked the most recent purchase I had made. So I hadn't tried it
But
yet.
it was
But I
super
can
cool.
confirm.
I liked
yeah,
it.
it's good. It's easy to pack, travel with, and I mean, it's impossible to get comfortable on a plane, but this helps better than nothing.
There's never been a disqualification of a pick of the week.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's great.
I can't be trusted with travel pillows. I've lost every single one I've bought. I think like 4.
I've lost a
So
few myself.
It's because they're so like unyieldy. Like, where do you put it when you're not
Yeah.
using it?
yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not.
Yeah, go ahead.
You got to be the guy that walks around. I got to be the guy that walks around
Wears
with it on,
wear it all the
or I'm gonna lose it.
Just so he doesn't
Now I
lose
got to
it.
eat and I can't eat. What do I do?
Yeah.
So that's the difference with this one. It packs flat, right? So you don't have to be
Yeah.
wearing it.
You guys work together and you haven't introduced him to your travel pillow?
Ian's holding.
I'll
Ian's holding
introduce
out
you.
on me.
We're flying up to the
Yeah,
area
totally.
together soon. We'll bring that. It's too short of a flight, but we'll
I guess
we'll
my
fill
pick
a
of the
bit.
week though is I didn't know that Dyson has a refurbished part of their website, so you can get all the best Dyson products like half
So
off.
it's not
Oh, that's cool.
$800.
No, yeah. So the $800 fan is a price I'm still too ashamed to list.
I saw the same one at Best Buy. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They got up to $800 for a filter fan.
Expensive.
You know, I mean, I know it's hot, but come on, really?
It's gotta pour me a beer or something for that price.
Yeah, do something.
Totally.
Do something cool.
Sir?
So in Poway, California, they have just built a Cane's chicken thing.
Oh,
I didn't know what Cane's
Raising
was or what the
Cane's,
big
right?
deal was. Raising Cane's,
Yeah,
thank you.
Raising
Oh, yeah.
Cane's.
But the whole community was like, oh my God, Raising Cane's is coming. And me and my daughter were like, what the heck are you guys talking? It's just chicken. So it's really good. But
Yeah.
what I really like, I've been there like almost every day this week for lunch, is they sell like a big jug of their sweet tea. And I love sweet tea. So I've
Okay.
been just like, I'm hyper right now because I had like 2 glasses before the podcast. So I highly recommend Cane's sweet tea.
I can appreciate that. The Carolina time, and I'm sure for you, is the Tennessee time, right? I mean, yeah, sweet
Yeah,
tea.
Tennessee sweet tea. I'm still not all about the cane sauce. Everybody's raving about it, but
Really?
yeah, the
That's the
chicken's
best
good.
part.
The tea's good. I don't get what the big deal about the sauce is.
Well, let's see how it lasts in good old Poway. You know, if it's they're gonna
Oh,
sustain.
there's
like
lines.
the Chick-fil-A here in Reno, I got to say, it had its hype time. It's still they're making plenty of money, but it's not a line wrapped around the building for 16
So you're
hours a
saying
day.
I'm in the hype mode.
I
right
don't know.
now.
You never know.
It did
I don't
just
know. I'll
open,
come
yeah.
check it out. I like.
They don't have a jingle that I know of that we can sing right now. Or I'd go into that.
We have one here in Reno that it's got the line wrap. It's like an in and out. It's got.
But
the
you know
line
what? They
wrapped
don't
around the
have
building.
anything for puppies. It was so the guy said the concept is based on a dog, but they don't have anything for dogs. Like everywhere I go, I ask for a dog thing. Like
Yeah.
McDonald's has like no salt patties, so does In-N-Out, or like, Starbucks has little whipped cream pup cups. These
Mhm.
guys don't have anything.
Nothing.
And it's based on a dog. Like, come on, yo. Let's get with it.
Come on.
You gotta write a letter.
I'm going to complain to your manager.
That's like, yeah. I mean, one of the best places for dogs I've ever been to is Lazy Dog. I mean, they welcome dogs in their patio. They have plenty of water bowls. They got food, everything.
Mhm.
All right. So my pick of the week, I'll get to it. It's, I do rucking. Anyone know what rucking is? It's from the military,
Yeah.
right? So the
Yep.
Marine Corps, the
Very cool.
Army, they're all doing rucking. So I've been carrying around. So Ruck makes a number of products, one of which is just a backpack looking thing with a little sliver where you can put up to a 45-pound weight in. But that's not really practical. You're just basically carrying a steel plate
You
around.
guys should show up to
You know.
LRIG San
So-
Francisco all in ruck bags.
So I upgraded to their GR3, which is basically a travel bag, but it's optimized. If you want to fill it with sandbags, which I do sometimes, or maybe some other stuff like my work stuff, it's basically this.
Ooh.
You know, it's pretty substantial. It's a pretty big bag, but it's
Nice.
yeah, it's it's the GR3 from Go Ruck, and yeah, you can do your rucky. It's the largest one they make.
Where's your
But,
hat? Go ruck.
The yeah, I don't have the Go Ruck. I did that last time, but I did put the patch on this one. It's coming up, the 2026, right? What's that mean? 250 years old, the United States, right? So we got the
It is. Yeah, it's our
coming up.
anniversary.
And I
It's a
was
big
born in
one.
76, so that's where I was.
All right.
1976, not
19
70. There was a little confusion about that
Oh, yeah,
last
just got 200
podcast.
years in there. Yeah.
I'm a Go Ruck guy myself. I have a Go Ruck.
Comrade.
Yeah.
Go Ruck Comrade. All right, Chris. Awesome.
Yeah.
So we
Me and
can
Chris
trade
were just
notes.
talking about this the other day. Yeah.
Yeah.
His record
Yep.
here.
Yeah. And so
Mine's too heavy. I need to downsize. Mine's too heavy.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the cool thing is you can kind of get used to their stuff. Like it's all they've settled on a common format for weights.
Yeah.
Also the sandbag. Some people, I bought some of the sandbags too, because I prefer dealing with those than this giant metal plate that, God forbid you drop it.
Oh, yeah.
I would drop it like right
Bad
on my
news.
foot.
Yeah, that'd be a bad. Yeah, you'd be out of commission for some time on that one.
Yeah.
So anyway,
sure.
Go Ruck. Well, hey, thank you both for joining us again. Chris for the first time and Ian for joining us the second time. And we'll look forward to revisiting again sometime in the future. But for our listeners, if you'd like to connect with Chris and Ian and learn more about them, feel free to visit their website, biomedrecruitment.com. And of course, you can connect with them on LinkedIn. Just look them up and start your job hunting journey. Or if you're hiring, check in with Chris and Ian about using their services and working with them to get the best candidates possible. And for those of you who are coming back to the Helical Brew, we're glad to have you with us. And for our new listeners, thank you also. For more information about our fantastic podcast that we love to do, it's helicalbrew.com. And you can also go directly to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@HelicalBrew, and just search for Helical Brew on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you again for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next time on the Helical Brew. For right now, this episode is fully brewed.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Helical Brew. We're glad to have you with us. For more episodes, please visit our website at helicalbrew.com. That's helicalbrew.com.